Broadcasting live. It's America's longest running talk show on computers. It's Computer America, bringing you the biggest names in technology with guest interviews, new products, and your emails. Listen live at computeramerica.com on any device around the world. Email the show at live@computeramerica.com or find us on social media. Be sure to check out our website for contests, giveaways, show notes, live video stream, podcasts, and more. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello and welcome into the Computer America Show. We are the nation's longest running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers and technology. Thank you for joining us. I'm your host, Ben Crossman, and everyone, welcome into the Computer America Show. We have a great program planned for you where, we have a company called Zoomaway, and of course, a product called ZoomedOut. If you haven't heard about it, this is probably where you are going to, get a lot of great information, and we're really looking forward to today's interview. But before we get started, first things first, computeramerica.com. That's where you will, of course, find the show notes. It will have everything from, any topics that we talk about, of course, our guest website. It will have links to any articles that we discuss in the computer and technology news segment in the second part of the program. But all that and more, computeramerica.com. Definitely check it out. So let's see. So with that being said, check out the video portion, social media at Computer America, so on and so forth. Everyone, of course, this is going to be a pretty weird show. Timing-wise, the show itself is going to be fabulous, but timing-wise, it may get a little wonky, obviously, with CES coming up. Either that or already passed, depending on how we're able to fit this one in. But CES is going to be a lot of fun, and we are going to be out there catching interviews, talking to people, and just trying to bring you the show as best as we can. So, with that being said, everyone, welcome into the program one last time. Why don't we go ahead, sit down, and get started with our guests? And joining us, this is going to be a lot of fun. We have, of course, Mr. Sean Schaeffer. He is the CEO of Zoomaway, and of course, very, very knowledgeable. We're going to get a lot of great information, and of course, we'll have another guest there, which we'll introduce in just a moment. But everyone, let's go ahead and introduce once again Sean Schaeffer. So, Sean, welcome on to Computer America. How you doing?
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, happy to have you. And of course, it's really glad that you could join us here on the program. Crazy time, but at the same time, I'm sure that I don't need to belabor the point to you how difficult booking, scheduling, and just really this idea that getting everyone together is really difficult in a lot of ways. But at the same time, I think that you have yourself a video game here, but at the same time, it's something that I think a lot of people are going to find interesting. So, Sean, before we get started, let's get a little bit of background on Zoomaway and a little bit of background on yourself. Have you always been, creating these kinds of things? Are you new to tech? What is your background as well?
No, thank you. And I've been an entrepreneur for, the last 30 years. I've been in the hospitality industry since I was just out of school. Worked at major hotel casinos here in the Reno, Nevada area. Been building systems that do quite a few different things. That Zoomaway has a legacy business, and that legacy business is services software to the hotel and activities industries, where we've built platforms that make real-time golf reservations. Tapping into golf course tee sheets. We've got hotel systems that bundle the ability to book rooms with activities, retail websites, you name it. For the last 20 years, I've been operating a company that has been building those kind of products and providing hotels with services and different things that they couldn't do for themselves. So very entrepreneurial at heart, always in the mood and the mode to build and come up with something that is different, exciting, and doesn't have, let's just say that it is unique. Yeah. It doesn't have much competition. And that background, our core competency was this background in hospitality, in operating systems that put hotels and activities like golf and ski and different things directly in touch with customers And the key there was to get the customers a process that would actually get them to reach for their wallets and provide a seamless transaction for the customer to pay for an experience with hotels and activities and all kinds of different things. So we've built it all. We've done it all. We've been the first in quite a few different areas back in the early 2000s, and a lot of innovation. But obviously, times have changed, and the company went public in late 2016.
Mm-hmm.
And starting in 2018, we decided to go a different direction, and we came up with this concept for ZoomedOut. Based on the fact that the hospitality industry is just so massive. But the social gaming industry is so massive that I sat around one day playing games with some of my kids. I have 3 kids, and I looked at the experience that most of us have with Expedia and Orbitz and Travelocity and Booking.com, and that process hasn't changed at all really since the early 2000s. You put in dates, you say what city you want to go to, and you get back this long list of hotels with a thumbnail image, and there's not a lot to tell you about the place that you're going to go. I mean, people spend, especially on full vacations, they spend weeks or months researching everything that there is to do in a market, and nobody showed none of those big travel sites show you the place you're going to go, like what's next to the hotel you're going to book. Which hotels are close to the convention center that I'm going to for CES, or any of the big shows that happen. There's just no visual there. So taking that game experience and building what we call a super app, because it does have a multiple purpose. It kind of brings in 3 huge industries, that hospitality, the social gaming, and then social media. We think we've got a real unique winner on our hands, and we want to change the way that people engage with travel forever.
Yeah, it's very interesting. And by the way, just real quick, I wanted to, you have, of course, Ryan sitting there in the background. If you'd like to introduce him, he's going to speak, when it's appropriate. So could you introduce Ryan?
Yeah, so Ryan Cullens is here with me. He is the CEO of 08 Studios. They are our production partner, and Ryan is an old friend of mine, and they are the guys that help make us look good. They know the game industry inside and out. Ryan's had a very extensive experience on all different platforms with gaming, from Xbox type to app-based gaming. You name it, he's done it, he's seen it, and we're very, very happy to have him. And I drag him into to interviews and different things just to let everybody hear sometimes just how smart he is and how much he knows about this industry.
Well, Ryan, glad that you could join us. So, of course, thank you for coming on.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, and thank you for the kind intro, Sean. I appreciate that.
Perfect. Yeah, absolutely. So why don't we go ahead and get started? Of course, you outlined quickly there ZoomedOut, which is the product. If you're watching the video portion, we're going to be watching the video and looking at some screenshots. But really, my just initial reaction to this is that you're trying to gamify something that is traditionally something that's very, very text-based and very scheduling heavy, date heavy, calendar heavy, and it really seems like you want to turn that into and of course virtual is a very loaded word nowadays with with so many different products coming out, but you want to help people visualize where they're going to be, what they're going to do, what else can they do, and really I guess my question to you is, of course correct me on any of that, but then I guess you're trying to turn that visualization into potentially, check out this point of interest, go to this place, do this event, kind of like a form of advertising that, hey, you're going to be there anyways. You might as well learn what's going to be there as well.
Yeah, and that's putting it great. The platform itself it's many different things, but at its heart, it's a 3D advertising platform. So basically, by making this really enticing app that people can explore and see different things and interact with businesses, we're driving traffic to the business. But by adding the game component, which is really cool, we're doing a double dip for our customers. So customers can come back daily and redeem resources inside the game, collect resources, do different things. So it's not just an advertising play in a traditional sense, but it is driving people back to open certain buildings and collect resources every day and get exposed to additional advertising. And our advertising isn't necessarily just the irritating ads that you see with all apps where you have to sit through 10 seconds of somebody's commercial before you can even get the app open.
Right.
We've got some really cool concepts that are coming down the pike. We've got the ability to put a billboard, right on the strip. We've got the ability to have a blimp, flying through the town. We've got all kinds of game components that really make the advertising part of this fun. And obviously, we're driving people back to those businesses through game components, through the special offers that the businesses want to do. When folks are in Vegas, they can be using the app for, directional purposes, for, dinner reservations, for shows and entertainment, and with some geofencing and some geo-targeting. Walking by certain buildings, you'll be able to collect rewards for things inside the business. So if the casino is offering, wants to offer our customers specials on dinner, free drink, whatever it may be, walking through the strip or anywhere in Las Vegas, as you walk by businesses, you'll have offers that'll be available to you. So it really covers a lot of different bases, but the main point here is that it's got to be fun, and it can't be intrusive, and that's what we're aiming for.
And this is very interesting because I don't think I've ever seen a comparison chart that combined Yelp, Pokemon Go, Groupon, Facebook, and Clash of Clans. That's a very interesting comparison chart that you have there. But it really does seem to strike what it is that you're trying to do, where it is going to be almost like Pokemon Go, but hey, you're going to these places to, not to play Pokemon Go, but to enjoy the businesses themselves. You're going on vacation in Vegas. And by the way, just real quick, I noticed that a lot of the imagery here was focused on Vegas. That's really where you're focusing on. Could you talk about that? I'm sure that you had your choice of, New York, LA, San Francisco, of course, being a huge tech industry. Why did you feel that focusing on Vegas, and is this just kind of like this is the proof of concept that, you're using Vegas?
Well, there's a bunch of different ways to answer that question, but, from a pure tourism standpoint and a pure visitation standpoint, and just, being a household name, Las Vegas was an easy choice. It's, there's a geographic benefit for us. We're not that far from Vegas. We're about a little over an hour flight from where we're headquartered here in Reno, Nevada. Mm-hmm. And the city has so much fun stuff, right? So, I've been to a lot of the other big cities, and they have tons of things to offer, but Vegas is just that splash, that glitz, that glamour. It's got all the things like, the Top Golf right there, right there in town. It's got obviously the shows, and it's got the water parks and the golf courses, and it's just got everything you could possibly want to recreate in 3 dimensions and do it in a fun and exciting way. But from a visitation standpoint, it's the city, and from a tourism budget standpoint, it's I think it's up there in the top 5 in the world as far as a tourist destination budget goes. So, we're hoping that folks in that arena, in the Convention and Visitors Authority, and those folks obviously see what we're building as well, because everyone's in that market is selling the destination.
Yeah.
So then they're selling each other, but this is a tool that hopefully will allow them to do it in an interactive way. It's like a 3-dimensional theme park map, and people get to interact with that, and that's something I don't think anybody's seen quite yet.
Absolutely, and Ryan, this might be your arena here, but looking at the screenshots and watching the video, recreating Vegas in 3D and being able to, I guess, obviously a new hotel doesn't go up every 2 days, so it doesn't need to be that dynamic, but it really seems like you have put in a lot of detail, and and of course Sean was talking about things like billboards and things like that. How was it building these iconic landmarks? Because the Vegas Strip, it's fairly well known, and being able to recreate that in 3D must have been a challenge but fun at the same time.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, we have an amazing partnership with Google that came up in the past 6 months, and using various parts of their API, we were able to recreate a good portion of Vegas using the essentially the roadwork that Google has laid out as the foundational map, and then be able to apply our artistic renderings over top of that 3D space, essentially giving us the visuals that you see in front of you. So we want to, engage the audience as best we can. But the cool part about what we're developing is it's not necessarily what you would just get from Google Maps or Google Earth. It's literally, like Sean said, a 3D interactive theme park map that will show the user all the cool things that they can do before they go or while they're there. So if you want to search for specific iconic landmarks, the map will be interactive, and it will kind of expand and collapse different buildings so that you can see more clearly the location that you want to see. So if you want to go to the high roller, you can search for that specifically, and it'll collapse everything down and take you right to that location. We have questing mechanisms that are built in, so that way you can go on essentially the same kind of paths that your friends have gone on, very kind of Pokemon Go-esque in a lot of ways. So there's a number of different features there that we've incorporated into this, and yes, it has been an amazing experience to create a lot of these iconic buildings, and we've had a great time doing it.
Very, very, and of course, watching some of the gameplay here, like you said, Sean, it's going to reward you over time. It's going to be very interactive, and some of the kind of keywords that are really jumping out at me on your website is this idea of continuous gameplay. Because I guess with your background, I'm sure that there must have been at some point, let's just revamp the experience of getting there and planning your trip, and then once you're there, you never open up the app again. Zoomed out is not meant to be opened up. That's not what you went with. You went with continuous gameplay when you're logged out, or at least when you're away from the app, it's still collecting resources. Why was it so important to not just redo the experience of booking and scheduling? Why was it so important to make it a continuous experience while you're there?
Well, there's probably a lot of different answers to that, but there's so much happening in a city like Las Vegas all the time, and depending on how the hotels engage with us as far as advertising goes, we want to make sure our audience and part of the game experiences when you're building games is you've got to obviously you've got to get an audience, and then you've got to retain an audience. You've got to have things freshening up all the time. There's got to be more and more and more. There's more levels, there's more buildings, there's more offers, there's more things to do. But we really wanted that one-stop app, right? Mm-hmm. We wanted this super app to be the one tool that everybody used, not just in the planning stage and not just to play games, because there will be people that do both. I've talked to people that are in their 50s and they don't play games, and they probably look at me a little cross-eyed for being 50 and playing games, but they'll use it as that research tool and to find specials and offers and deals. And then there's guys that'll just play the game. We're working on a very addictive game mechanic, but all the time we've got to be freshening all of those experiences, and to make one app that people can use during, and then just in everyday life when they got 10 minutes to kill, which we all know people that do it all day long. Take a break and play a game, spin some reels, do whatever they're doing. That was very important to us to make sure that folks don't put it down. And really, from a business standpoint, that leads to the kind of revenues that we're talking about, because we're keeping the audience engaged.
So that's how you see Zoomed Out being used, is that they'll do it, kind of setting up the whole thing. They'll be booking their hotel, their flight, or so on and so forth, and then maybe they'll pick certain events that they'll be able to sign up for through the app, and then as they're kind of going through their day to day, just those 5-minute periods that you're just sitting there, waiting for a bus or something like that, they're going to pull it out and collect their resources, manage them, and see what else has been updated since they last opened. Like, that's how you see Zoomed Out being played.
Yeah, at a high level, that's it. And again, it's addictive game qualities that keep people coming back. People love to build in these games, as you know, mm-hmm. And it's what hooked me on several of these games is acquiring, building, trying to have the biggest spot on the block, and we hope hope that what we come up with is that for people.
And absolutely, and talk about that idea of building, because hey, a lot of these landmarks are already there. What are some of the rewards, I guess, that people are going to work towards? Do you think that's going to, from a business side, be kind of like a loyalty system with points, or do you think that's going to be like discounts for 5%, whatever? How do you see rewards being something that is rewarding for the individual, but of course something that businesses would want to offer up themselves?
Well, I think it has the ability to be a hybrid of all, and we definitely want to make sure that there are tangible rewards for our gameplay in this. And there's quite a few other games out there that are more casino based games that we're not building a casino based game, because you get into some issues if you've got gaming and real rewards at the same time. But we've got a different kind of game, but we want people to be able to earn the free drink, or earn the free room night, or the second night free, or earn those different things with real rewards inside the game. But we also want our businesses to be able to advertise to our users, discounts and different things. And that's where the advertising has really got a multi-layer, really cool aspect to it, where when you open up a building, you've got the user experience is you've got some game components inside the UI, and then you've got some things about the business. So room reservations and dining and entertainment, but there are offers there that will lead people to be able to book at discounted rates and do different things. So it all comes into play. I think there's going to be definite rewards for our folks that are playing the game. They can redeem those for all kinds of different things. And then there's going to be offers in there as well to entice folks to, just pop into Vegas on a Friday night and spend the weekend having fun.
And very, very interesting that you do outline a lot of this on the website, which of course we're going to have in the show notes. But I do find it curious that and not even curious. It seems like such an interesting idea, because you can work in so many different applications, kind of behind the scenes into your application, of course, with API and, assuming permission. It would be very interesting that it's almost like you could have a side-by-side sim version where it's like, okay, I want to go here, and it's going to be like a little car, and it has like a, kind of like a mapping app. And then what if that mapping app would use Lyft, and it's like, okay, get me from here to there, and then Lyft would, work through your app to get a person there. There's so many ideas, and I guess as someone who is directing all of this, how do you decide, kind of what to tackle first? Because this is, what would you say are areas of interest for your team going forward with ZoomedOut?
Well, you hit on a couple really good ones right there. And first off, it is there are times where, because I see all of the potential, Ryan and his team do a great job of, keeping me on task. Because there's a lot of things that spin out of this, a lot of opportunities, including custom builds with specific clients. Along the veins of what you were talking about, I really, really, really want to get into building a couple of the neighborhoods in Las Vegas, the housing developments, because I want to be able to go to, an Airbnb or a VRBO or any of these kind of companies and say, listen, I've got, your house that you've got listed here. Your customers, they get an experience much like a hotel gets, where they get to see the nice rooms in the house, and they get to see all this stuff. They don't get to see the neighborhood. They don't get to see what's around it. They don't get to see what restaurants are close, where the strip is, where the water park is they're going to take the kids to, where all the attractions are. So, there's just, we sit around and we spin out on all kinds of great ideas, but at the end of the day, we're trying very hard not to get distracted with all of the thousands of opportunities that spin out of this, because we've got to get make sure we've got a product to market, and that product that comes out on day one will continue to expand all the time. It's always adding more levels, more level ups, more in-app purchase opportunities, more rewards, more everything. But we got a good team, and they keep us focused, and they keep me on even keel to not zoom around too much. Pardon the pun.
No, that's of course very important, and man, it's when you say you see the potential in this, I see that this is really where so many industries are going. Where is this idea that your app isn't just really doing one thing, it's also bringing people back. It's, even though you're just like let's just say like a booking app, there has to be a reason for people to keep coming back and keep using the app. I'm sure engagement and all these other metrics are super important for investors and the like. I mean, this is a very complex endeavor that you're doing, but you also mentioned this idea that you saw your kids playing these games, and you yourself were playing games that that you were finding very, very interesting. So anywhere from kids to, you said you were 50, I believe. I don't want to offend there, but yeah, so kids to 50. And of course, people of all age travel. Who do you see as your demographic for something like this?
Well, interestingly enough, I get that question all the time. And the cool thing about this is it's the demographic is everybody, pretty much, because there's adults, and I know plenty of them that play games, and we use this as a game map. There's older folks that I know that I've talked to that just want a research tool. I talked to a gentleman a couple weeks ago when he was on his way to Tokyo, and he told me that his wife had spent like 3 weeks researching all different things to do and investing a lot of time into it. But because of the game components, we believe the audience is that game market, which is these days pretty much everybody. I mean, I know grandparents that are playing games. I know a lot of folks that are doing different things with their tablets and their apps. So the cool thing is we've got this audience that isn't limited to anything, and that's why this app is a two-piece, multi-purpose deal. It can appeal to gamers, it can appeal to travelers, but it can appeal to both at the same time. There just really is an audience that we hope it doesn't appeal to.
It certainly sounds like you are casting a very wide net, and hey, that's exactly what you want. So some of these other features that we haven't touched on, and the first one that comes to mind is this idea of group play. So obviously people travel in groups. Either you're taking a spouse, you're taking your kids, or you're traveling with friends, so on and so forth. Not many people travel alone. And it's that group play that you have emphasized a couple times here on the website that you see as important. So why did you feel that was such? Because really, you could just have one person in the group doing this, everyone else kind of sitting by, and one person gathering the rewards, and that's it. Why was group play in something like this so important for you?
Well, we have Ryan and I both have a lot of experience playing, the role-playing games and these apps that that are big, like Clash of Clans and Boom Beach and Guns Glory, and the list goes on and on and on. Individually, you can have a certain amount of fun, but what a lot of us get out of the experience with groups is that we've actually formed friendships. We have folks that we can work with together towards a common goal inside the game. Mm-hmm. But for me, that was the most important thing. In a lot of the games that I played, I made real life friends in some of the groups and clans that you play in these games, and you meet people from all over the world. You get to participate with them. There's there's chat. There's chatability inside the app where you can talk to your group, or you can talk to the whole community, anybody. But it's really important, and people like to band together to try and achieve certain goals. And the group feature will be important to us, and that adds to leaderboards, and it adds to the gameplay. Really it's important to have that group aspect there, and we've experienced it, and we believe it's important because it's made our experience better in all the games that we've played.
Hey, that's and really, you've created something here that I can safely say, after doing this for like 10 years, I've never heard of, I've heard of gamification when it comes to education, when it comes to healthcare, and by healthcare I mean fitness and doctor checkups and things like that. I've heard of gamification for so many different sectors, and it's working incredibly well. You think that this is really the next part, is turning something that is arduous, and trust me, again, for CES, I had to do everything myself, and boy, I have I have some airlines that are holding some of my money because canceling it, and like I couldn't envision what it was, like the time schedule and the days that I flew in and things like that. It needs changing. And do you think this is, hospitality is the next one to be gamified?
Yeah, absolutely. It's been, I mean, think about it. How many changes have you seen from the big travel providers, the big OTAs in the last, 20, 25 years? And people tell me all the time when I say crazy things like, hey, we're going to go up against Expedia, and companies like that with a product like this. People laugh at you and think you're crazy because you can't compete with an 800-pound gorilla is what they say. But the way it's super corny, and Ryan's probably going to throw a stapler at me, but it's that the old Star Trek Kobayashi Maru. How do you beat the unbeatable? Well, you change the platform, you change the game, right? So what people see is what we're aiming at changing. That experience has never changed. It's flat. It's the 1.5 dimensional website appearance, and you get that thumbnail of the hotel. It doesn't tell me anything about what's cool. I'm a burger and beer connoisseur when I travel, so I like to know where the hot burger spot is, or where's a good place to get a beer that I don't have to drive to, that I can walk to. Those are the kind of things where I just don't get that from travel sites right now. A lot of them have a things to do section and all kinds of other stuff, but this is taking all of that a step further and saying, hey, audience, you deserve better than this. And the only reason they haven't changed in all these years is because they're super successful at what they want. And what they want is for you to get into that website, pull out your credit card, be out and gone in less than 3 minutes. That's what they want, because it requires a whole lot of effort and a whole lot of money to build something like this, where you're immersing your customer into an experience where they do a whole lot more.
No, very, very true. And by the way, this next question is mainly for Ryan, I think. But it comes to kind of the gameplay and all this kind of thing. This is going to be tongue in cheek, just to be upfront, because it's radio and people can't see me. But I will say that Ryan, are you worried you're going to make too good of a game that's just going to pull away from other sectors, or is gameplay something that if a really fun game comes out of this and people are coming back primarily for the gameplay, and of course you can work in the advertising and all that kind of thing around it, but again, my tongue-in-cheek question is, are you worried that you're going to make too good of a game here?
Well, that would be a great success if we made too good of a game, in my opinion. But I think the latter part of the question is really important. It's the gameplay experience is one of the first and foremost of what we're developing, because it keeps people engaged in what we're doing, and that's what makes it truly different. So it's actually there's all these components that Sean's talking about, all the different various aspects of traveling, booking, seeing location. All that information is amazing to the user. But what keeps them engaged all the time is going to be a big part of what we're doing, and how we develop out the core mechanics of the game, and what we call a game loop cycle, which is in a lot of the free play style games that you see on the market for social games. So we really hope that once this actually hits the market, that people find the engagement appealing. They really enjoy the game as it currently stands, and they enjoy coming back every day. And then on top of it, they get all these amazing amenities on top of the game experience that just add to it in every possible way.
So, and really, when it comes down to this, I think that there are so many games that you can kind of pull from, and one of my initial reactions is like, if someone is really invested in one particular business, like let's say when I go to Vegas, let's say I'm really into MGM or the Venetian or one of these other hotels or restaurants. Do you think gameplay-wise you should, especially with advertising, do you think that you should hurt people within the game for really having loyalty to one hotel or one franchise or chain or whatever, versus someone who may be advertising and it's like, you're doing this too often, you're staying at the Venetian too often, so you really need to go check out, the MGM hotel, and you're going to reward people more for doing that. You know what I mean? Like gameplay can be, something that people prefer, And then there's going to be what, of course, what advertisers are hoping to get from your platform.
Well, what I do know from my years of experience is that when you have a favorite hotel, and you're a frequent visitor to that hotel, they're making sure that they reward you on a regular basis. And I think that they get bombarded with all kinds of different offers, especially if you're a gambler, right? You're getting hit with offers from all kinds of other casinos and different things on the strip, and we'll give you this, and we'll upgrade you to that, and we'll do all these things. But at the end of the day, people still go where they're comfortable. And the beauty of the app is that if you're comfortable with the Venetian or the Bellagio, and that's the place you want to stay, great. And if you're a casino customer and you're getting free rooms, you're using the app for other things, dinner reservations, or maybe it's that Uber ride that you mentioned, all kinds of different things that you could use it for. But I think when people have a favorite, they stick with it. Occasionally they'll try something different, but I don't think that we're going to be driving. What we're going to be doing is driving additional things to do for that loyalty customer. So is always staying at the Venetian, we're going to expose him to, hey, the new Brazilian steakhouse, or the show at the Hard Rock, or whatever may be going on. It could be the cabanas at the Hard Rock. It could be anything. We're going to be hopefully exposing that audience to something that's not going to push them away from where they're loyal.
Right. So you're not going to hurt people for doing what they prefer, but you're going to reward them for knowing about what's going on around them, which is great. My next question is, of course, something very high level, and should have asked this a while ago. What platform do you see this on? Do you see this on browsers, and this is something that they'll do, kind of as they're setting up the trip? Of course, smartphones are everywhere. Is this through maybe social media like Facebook or Twitter? I know that Facebook gaming has really waned in the past, and having a dedicated app seems to be the way to go. How do you see this game, or I'm sorry, what platform do you think this game is going to primarily be on?
Well, to start, this platform is going to be on the on the App Store, so it's going to be Google and Apple, Android and Apple, and that's where it's going to live. Eventually, we may get to desktop versions and get to those kind of things, but for now, the plan is just in the app stores, and that is going to be a device-driven experience. And then eventually, we think we get to that thing. Social media, things like Facebook, are very, very important to this as well. It's that third whale that we've kind of intertwined into one app that we didn't really talk too much about, but the sharing experience, the social media experience, really revolves around a concept that we have inside the game called questing. Mm-hmm. And people can share their experiences and build quests for other people to follow. If it was me, I'd be like, okay, I hit these 5 burger challenges, and I finished 2 of them, and I didn't finish 3 of them, or I did the tequila flight at such and such, and then I went over here and did this. And then businesses have the ability to build those quests in as well. So our advertisers can build paid quests, premium quests, where folks can come in and do certain things inside the building. But social media, things like Facebook, are very important to us from a marketing standpoint, not necessarily living the app living in any specific place, but the sharing experience and being able to post up photos and do all the things that really make a city like Vegas so special are important to us.
Absolutely. And so with that being said, I was just looking at your roadmap here. Looks like you guys are, looks like you're going to have most things settled by the 1st of next year. And then, of course, you're going to enter your beta where people can, of course, download it and, check some of that out. And I do, I noted that there's no Kickstarter or GoFundMe, that kind of thing. I'm sure that you have investors, kind of on the back end that are making up for that, but you did not go the crowdfunding route as far as I could tell, and maybe in the future you will have that. But so many of our guests that come on, some of them do that. And I'm curious as to why you decided to not do that so far.
Well, the main reason is because we are a public company listed on the Toronto Stock Exchange, the Venture Exchange, and doing your job well in the markets, making sure that you're hitting milestones and getting achievements and doing certain things. Really, the public company it's a great way to be able to raise the money that you need. and we've been fairly successful so far. Obviously, this is an expensive endeavor, but because we're a public company, we didn't get into any of the crowdfunding or anything like that, because we have a vehicle where we can communicate directly with investors and run different types of programs, whether it be private placements or different things, to get the funding put together that we need. And we're currently working on finishing our OTC QB paperwork, so we're hoping that we're listed. We do have a U.S. symbol now, but it's just gray sheets. So we're hoping that we finish our U.S. listing here shortly, and that for us that's big, because right now our investor pool really is Canadian, and we're based here in Reno, and we're 3 hours from San Francisco, and we've got a lot of folks that we'd like to talk to about this. But reality is, a program like this, if we were a startup, based on what's happening, if anybody researches the hospitality industry and sees what these startups are raising for what I consider ridiculous things that are just inner hotel software platforms that don't even engage guests or marketing, no doubt we would have raised 20 or 25 million dollars on a concept like this. But we are a public company, and it just works a little bit different than that. So we've got certain restrictions, certain things we can and can't do, and it's been successful so far, though. We've got a great audience of shareholders. I mean, we've got people that absolutely are passionate about what we're doing. They get it. They hammer me with questions and recommendations all the time, which is great. But yeah, it's a different process for us than just a private company.
No, and of course, thank you for explaining that. So, and of course, with all that being said, looks like you have a lot of work ahead of you, and next year is going to be huge for you guys. I will say that before we, kind of say goodbye, Sean, are there any, or even Ryan as well, are there any topics that we really didn't touch on that you really, that you feel we should?
No, I think we covered it all. It was, in my opinion, a great interview, and you asked some great questions, and they were the kind of questions that I appreciate getting, because you can tell that you've got some game experience and you've got some interest, so it was much appreciated.
Well, I'm sure that the body type alone would told you I have gaming experience, but I will say that this is a very interesting idea. It's man, you're trying to gamify something that after doing it myself definitely needs it. And when it comes to like rewards programs and kind of loyalty programs and things like that, they're very old school. They get your email, you just exist on a spreadsheet somewhere. And it's not that I feel the need to interact with these companies when I'm not, when I don't need them. But at the same time, if I'm there, if I'm actively doing it, like I feel like I should be more valuable of, almost like more valuable of a client than someone who is just a number on a spreadsheet. So I feel like something like this really does have a lot of potential. So Sean, Ron, I want to thank you so much for coming on to Compute America. Everyone, Zoomaway.com if you would like to check it out for yourself. Of course, iOS and Android, you have your beta coming here soon. And yeah, guys, thank you so much for joining us here on Compute America. It was fun.
Yeah, great. Thank you very much for the time. We both enjoyed it, and look forward to doing it again someday.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Absolutely. Next time you guys have your beta out, although that should be like 2 weeks, but whenever you hit another milestone, feel free to send me an email, and we'll definitely set this up again, and we'll talk about it. So guys, until next time, have a great one. Again, Compute America, show notes, Zoomaway.com. Until next time, have a great one, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so everyone, there we go, and we're going to go ahead and do that. So everyone, thank you so much for tuning in to to that portion. That that was our guest for today. Really enjoyed that, and we love to hear about that kind of thing. Let's go ahead and continue on here with computer and technology news, and this is a segment where we are going to check out what's new with just technology. We focus on this 24 hours a day, as much as humanly possible, without going insane. So let's go ahead and talk about this computer and technology news brought to you by Computer America. Here we go. So our first story that we're going to do check this one out. This is almost like I don't even know the best way to describe this one. The FBI, they're raiding. And who are they raiding? This is a very interesting one. The FBI are raiding the NSA. Yeah, it's we got some cross-pollination here. And just picking up this article, this one just came out today, a couple hours ago from the Register, and they're saying that FBI raiding NSA's global wiretap database to probe United States people in probably illegal, unconstitutional, is probably illegal and unconstitutional. That's what a court says. Yeah, a data silo we didn't even know existed until a certain IT admin went rogue. And of course, that certain IT admin that went rogue would be none other than Edward Snowden. I'm sure you remember that was a whole hubbub with the NSA. They were collecting cell phone metadata for every phone call in the United States that was happening. Even though you weren't on a list, all communications were being tracked and monitored by the NSA. So they said that in a decision that could put an end to a practice that civil liberties groups have decried as illegal for years, the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Second Circuit noted that the way the feds today use a database of seized communications would be at odds with the Fourth Amendment concept that law enforcement agents may not invade the privacy of individuals without some objective reason to believe that the crime has been committed. They said that at issue is a Section 702 of America's Foreign Surveillance Intelligence Act. I know we have all read America's Foreign Service Intelligence Act. They say that this year was a subject of considerable concern within Congress when it was renewed. Let's go ahead and say that as part of the process, information is often gathered on U.S. persons who are in contact with people of interest. If information on U.S. persons contains evidence or suspicion of a crime, then the authorities are allowed to keep it. If not, then they're allowed to, or they're supposed to at least, delete it. In this case, a U.S. citizen was jailed as a result of that NSA spying program. And of course, he admitted providing material support to terrorist organizations. And he said that he appealed against the sentence, claiming that the evidence against him was obtained illegally. Specifically, he claimed that he was collared only after the FBI searched the database initially without a warrant and later applied for the paperwork when it was sure it had nailed him. Which, it's one of those things where, he's aiding terrorists, so, I'm not going to cry over that guy. But at the same time, the way that they obtained the information is very, very illegal. So, there you go. The appeals court decided against some of his arguments and was not clearly in favor of the others. They said that they ruled it was not against the Fourth Amendment to incidentally gather information on U.S. persons as part of the program. Scary. Nor was it illegal to store the information if there was evidence of a possible crime. Who's to say? Who's to say? That is the big quote here. Who's to say? So let's see. Let's go ahead and continue on here. They said that the second reason for why the FBI should be allowed to search through the Section 702 database for whatever it wants is the sheer size of the program. They're saying that the Second Circuit notes that at least 250 million emails are being grabbed and stored annually, and says it looks more like a dragnet than a careful gathering of evidence. They said that the vast technological capabilities of Section 702 program, they said that may mean the analysts are not reviewing each of these emails contemporaneously. If such a vast body of information is simply stored in a database available to be reviewed by domestic law enforcement, solely on the speculative possibility that evidence of interest to agents investigating a particular individual might be found there, the program begins to look more like a dragnet and a query like a general warrant, and less like an individual officer going into an evidence locker to check for previously acquired piece of evidence. So there you go. It's that's what's happening, is that the NSA is collecting all emails. They're collecting, or at least as many emails as they are able to collect. And thanks to Edward Snowden, we know that includes many of the most popular email providers. That includes almost all cell phone communication that's happening in the United States. Most SMS text messages, as well as things like anything through like Facebook or Twitter or what have you. All that is being stored in one giant database, and law enforcement is able to essentially Control F, look for any kind of information that would make someone guilty of a crime, and then go back after the fact and apply for warrants, and then kind of say that, hey, we have warrants, we have reason to believe it's illegal, but is that initial search itself illegal to begin with? That sounds a lot like a government spying on its citizens, which is some 1984 kind of stuff, and people should be very, very concerned about that. So, ladies and gentlemen, that topic gets very, very heady very, very quickly, and I don't think we are, going to get into that. So let's go ahead and continue on here. Let's see. So for our next story, and we had this one about tax evasion through charitable organizations and mainly focusing on Google's Larry Page. Very interesting article. We'll go ahead and throw that into the show notes as well. You should definitely check that out. But overall, it's just so heavy. I don't think we're going to be able to do it. I don't think I have the mental fortitude to do it. So let's go ahead and continue on here and talk about, just real quick, Germany. You know them. Germany, a German court bans Uber's ride-hailing service. What? Why? Well, here you go. They said that Uber has suffered another major setback in Europe, saying that a German court ruled on Thursday that the company doesn't have the necessary license to operate a business that employs for-hire drivers. So it looks like their paperwork was out of order, saying that the German Taxi Association that brought the legal challenge against Uber said it plans to seek immediate provisional enforcement of the ban. Uber could pay fines as high as €250,000 per ride if it doesn't comply with the court's decision. The company can appeal the ruling, however. And, when you're looking at €250,000 per ride, and they probably do thousands and thousands of rides a day. Oh, yeah, they're going to challenge that one. In addition to the license violation, the court found several issues with Uber's dispatching process, including the fact that the drivers could accept a job within its app without their official employer first receiving it. Additionally, under German law, hired cars are obligated to return to their firm's main office after dropping a passenger off. So that's very much different than the gig economy kind of way that they do. It seems like the laws and regulations are much more finely tuned to taxis, and more traditional taxi dispatching kind of thing, as opposed to ride-hailing services. They said that the latest court decision caps off a rough end to the year for Uber. In late November, London declined to issue the company a new license to operate within the city. And, of course, the Transport for London, the city's ride-hailing regulator, said it identified a pattern of failures when it came to Uber's safety track record. Both decisions, of course, at a time when Uber can afford to lose large markets. In its first IPO earnings report, the company said it had a net loss of $1.1 billion, which, honestly, not bad. Not bad at all. You can look at companies like Twitter, which long became household names before they ever turned a profit. That's just the way tech companies and large tech companies work nowadays, is that they subsist almost entirely on flaming piles of venture capital money. It's just how it is. So there you go. So everyone, let's go ahead and continue on here and check out this one. This is a rumor about a new Samsung phone. Maybe it's real, maybe it's a fake, but check this out. Shortly before Motorola revived the RAZR, Samsung made it loud and clear that it was also working on a clamshell foldable phone. So it's no surprise that a prototype would eventually show up in China. And according to 5 photos that were submitted to Twitter, they have a prototype. And you can see it here. They said that there's no word on internal specs, but we can see a punch hole camera right beside the earpiece, and the lack of chin allows the fold screen to extend all the way to the bottom. Both characteristics match the clamshell concept art that Samsung developer conference that they unveiled last time. And for those of you just listening on the radio and not able to see the picture, clamshell, so think of old phones that used to smack shut. But the screen extends almost end to end, and the screen itself will fold in on each other, and then when it's closed, it will look like almost a perfect square, and it will only have the barest of information such as notifications, time, and things like that. But overall, this looks to be more like a sturdier budget kind of phone. It's not exact, and if I had to guess, probably not much of a flagship phone, more on the lower end, but still a foldable continuous LED screen inside. They said that much like the $1,500 RAZR, this device also benefits from an outer notification screen, but with a smaller serving. Of course, they have a pair of rear cameras. They said they also have a LED flashlight. There's a volume rocker on the top right. It's unclear whether this clamshell has inherited the Galaxy Fold's dedicated power button. We'd like to get a closer look at this hinge design. It appears more rounded than the RAZR one as well. They didn't go into any further details. They didn't mention any kind of innards. I'm making complete speculation when it said that the specs are going to be mid-range. That's what I'm going to assume, because let's face it, a $2,000 Galaxy Fold or the $2,400 Huawei Mate 10, these things they did not gain any popularity. They priced themselves out of every single market, and if a foldable phone like this is ever going to make it, ladies and gentlemen, it just has to be something that people can actually afford. It's different, and different does not mean good. It has to be competitive all on its own without the gimmicks. And then, hey, the gimmicks, they're a plus. They're your advertising. Everything else has to be, a good phone. So let's go ahead and continue on here. We have time for just one more article, I believe, and I think the last article we're going to do is okay. Let's do this one. Facebook. And whoever's working at Facebook, if you're listening to this, in general, you guys have bad ideas. I mean that in the best possible way. You guys suck at coming up with good ideas. Check this article. This one also from Engadget. Christine Fisher. Facebook is working on its own operating system. Saying that a custom OS would allow Facebook to move away from Android. Saying that in an attempt to free itself from the tech giants like Google, Facebook, which is also a tech giant, is developing its own operating system. And they said that in the future, Facebook hardware products like Oculus and Portal devices could run on the OS, Facebook executive Ficus Kirkpatrick said. The OS will be built from scratch, and the project will be led by will be a former Microsoft engineer who co-authored the Windows NT operating system. Ladies and gentlemen, when you want to start your own operating system, you go to the guy that designed Windows NT. I'm sure he has relevant experience since then, but man, oof. Facebook has not indicated when the OS might arrive or which product it will, of course, use first. Facebook's current OS work is part of a larger effort to make the company self-sufficient. They're saying that we want to make sure the next gen has space for us. We don't think we can trust the marketplace or competitors to ensure that's the case, and so we're going to do it ourselves. And like I said, when it comes to bad ideas, Facebook seems to be very, very good at coming up with bad ideas. Why this is a bad idea? People don't want different operating systems. If you look at the current operating system landscape for desktop computers, even though that's not what they're proposing here, you're looking at about a 95% domination by Microsoft. If you look at operating systems when it comes to mobile, iOS takes the vast majority, but that's only because Android is segmented into different iterations of itself. Currently, you're looking at a 2 operating system landscape. And of course, you could throw in Google's operating system in there as well, but hey, that's a version of Android as well. There's just no, I'm not saying that there's no room. If you come out with another fork of Android, hey, maybe it will do well. But if you want to come out with an entirely new operating system, man, like, there are ideological ways to go about that, much like, Pure OS, and we talked about the Librem 5 phone. That is its own thing, and that is an idea that can catch on with open source and privacy and that kind of thing. But for Facebook to do it, there's just no demand there. No one wants Facebook to have even more data. No one wants Facebook to have even more control over their data, and it's just not going to go well. So I don't know why they're doing this, and overall, bad idea. But everyone, that's it for us here at Computer America. Thank you so much for tuning into the program. Until next time, have a great day. Thank you so much. Bye, everyone.